Hey, what's going on guys? Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Now I thought on today's little video I'd show you the neon tetra fry that we've been bringing up. I'm not sure if you've been following the last two episodes that have been up, which is part one of breeding, getting all the tanks ready and everything, and number two, I think we were just getting the fry and showing you the fry from a very young age. Well, I think what we'll do now is I'll reset you up on the bench by their tank. This is all the parents, or some of the parents that I used to get these young ones out. So if you're unfamiliar with how to breed them, shoot back to part one and that will familiarise you then on how to breed them. So I'll reset you up on the bench and we'll have a look at some of these little fry, okay? Okay guys, there you go. I've got to keep very still on the bench because I've just put a light over the top. I've kept the workshop light quite low, and I've got quite a lot of the dwarf water lettuce on the top, which obviously is aiding in sucking up those horrible nitrates that are forming up in the tank. I'm giving the tank 2 litres of water, fresh water every 3 days. I'm putting in here. I'm taking a 2 litre jug out and then 2 litres of fresh dechlorinated tap water goes back in. The tannins are slowly going because we don't need the tannins in the water so much now. The peat's released quite a lot of the tannins, but you can see now that the little fry have got some colour to them. They got that lovely little blue, electric blue flash. I'll get in a little bit closer for you on them. But they're getting a lovely little blue fleck through them now. I don't know if you can see those guys down in the corner there by the heater. But that's how small they are compared to the heater. They're still very small, but you can see their little bellies are full of water worms and micro worms that I've been feeding them. Now, these guys are big enough now to take some brine shrimp, and I've been hatching some brine shrimp out, and I'll just take you through it in case you're new to this hobby and you fancy breeding something, because brine shrimp are going to be a big part of breeding as the fry get older, and they're going to be needing that to get some extra nutrition into their little bodies to get them growing. So I'll put the workshop light back on, and then I'll take you through this the stage of breeding some Artemia, okay, brine shrimps. Right guys, here we go. I've set you up on the bench. This is the Artemia hatcher which I made a good while back. It's not something that any guys can, you can't just go out and do this kind of stuff. Well, you could do, but I've got this acrylic tube here which I got from a recycling plant, so it's going to be hard for you to replicate that. But if you can find yourself a 2 litre bottle of old Coke bottle or anything like that, and you want to make one, you can always drill a hole through the lid, put an air stone in. Lots of videos on how to build brine shrimp hatchers, but I just thought I had this stuff kicking around in the workshop, so I just made a nice little base, and on the side there put another little bit of acrylic pipe up there where the air goes in, and that just makes a nice little tumble going around in there which circulates those eggs nicely from a little air pump. Now this stuff I use, I actually got this off of eBay, so if you can have a look at that, Artemia double eggs professional mix, that's what it's called. It's basically the eggs and the salt are in this bag, okay, so it's all in there. I think it was about £7 or £8 it was. It's not super expensive, but there's a lot in there and it will last you a long time. Now you use sort of 2 tablespoons, okay, it's got the instructions all on the back there, very simple to follow. Fill your hatcher with fresh tap water, turn on the aeration, sorry. Step 3, add the Artemia eggs, mix to water, 2 tablespoons per 1 litre. So that's a litre in there. So I just put 1 tablespoon in there, start spinning around, and within sort of 24 hours, just over 24 hours, you're going to get a nice big hatch. Now I've got some ready in here because these are just starting to hatch, but I've got some in here which I hatched 2 days ago. And a little trick with Artemia, I'll just set you up now over the top of this so you can see these little guys. Now these are very small, newly hatched brine shrimp are very small, but there's a little trick which I always use. Now I'll just go back here, now when you turn the air off, okay, all the eggs, let me just go back a bit, all the eggs, when you stop this, I'll just show you now. So you turn the air off, and now what you'll find is all the eggs are going to, the ones that have hatched will slowly rise to the surface, okay? And then all the Artemia then will be in this clear water column here. So then what I do is I just put my bowl there underneath there, turn that on, and then that sucks all the Artemia straight down there and leaves the egg cases on the surface. You can see them starting to form there. I'll try and get a close-up view for you. You might see a few hatched. They're just starting to hatch now. And you'll see the little guys skipping all over the place. But that's what I tend to do. It's a very simple thing to do, and it's the same when you do it with a bottle. If you I just went and grabbed a bottle for you. Now, if you want to make an Artemia hatcher, all you need is an old water bottle. There's still a bit of water left in that one. Okay, drill a little hole in the top there, a couple of sizes smaller than an airline would be. Okay, drill a hole through there, stick your airline through, pull it through the other side, and take the lid off. Obviously put an air stone on the other end, replace that, and then you can invert it up like that. Then obviously your water, then as your air comes in through the bottom, it's going to bubble them eggs up the same as it's doing in there. Cut the top off obviously so you can get in there so the eggs can float. And then when you want to get rid of the Artemia and take them out, once all those egg cases are floated to the top, you've just got to literally take that off. I use a little air valve there, sorry, a little valve, so I can take it off from that side there, which then I can put that into my pot if you're working on a bottle system like this. Okay, then you can just tip that, unscrew the top, and all the Artemia, then you can empty it into a little bowl and then clear it out, and then clean it out with some fresh water and feed them to your fish. But that's a very simple way of making an Artemia hatcher. There's loads of videos on YouTube how to make them, but I just made this one up because I had the stuff kicking about. I'm not sure if you can see those little Artemia in there all buzzing around. Yeah, there's quite a few hatched in there now, see? And there's all the eggs floated to the top. So you can imagine how all that's lovely and clear. All them eggs have hatched, floated to the top. All the Artemia's in there. Twist that on. They all pour in. Then you just got to rinse them through with fresh water, through an Artemia sieve, and then feed them straight to your fish. Never put the salt water in your tanks, because then you're going to up your salinity in your tank, and they're not sea fish, so you don't want to be putting them in, because some people I've seen before, they'll just suck a little bit up and they'll put a little bit in, but over time that salt is going to build up, because salt never leaves the water. Salt stays in the water, and when your water evaporates, that salinity will go up. All you marine guys will know that, and that's why you've got to have your auto top-up systems on your marine tanks, otherwise your salinity is going to go haywire and your fish are going to struggle, and so are your corals. But getting back to these little Artemia now in here, there's a little trick, and I don't know if you guys know it, but Artemia fry, they're called phototactic, and that means they're attracted to light. So if you get, I've got my good old trusty torch there, turn it on, okay, and then you just put it to the side. I'll set you up, and you will see them little guys slowly migrating towards the light. And at the moment you can just see them there. Give that 5 minutes. What I'll do is now you can see them all migrating towards the light. It's very interesting the way they do that. You can see there's a little pilgrimage going on there of baby brine shrimps heading towards that light. They've seen the light. And now it's a very easy time to get them out with your turkey baster. So what I'll do, you can see how many have colonised there already. But what I'll do is I'm going to stop it for 5 minutes, then I'll come back and there'll be a seething mass there. So just one little suck up of those little guys, and then we can add that to the tetra tank, and we can watch these little tetras then have a good old munch and a good old chow down on some freshly hatched brine shrimp, which will really get them going and get them busy and putting on weight and growing nicely, so we can put them in the big bench tank later on. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, there you go guys, there's quite a few there now. A little mass of Artemia. Now we've got to just get the old turkey baster out, depress the squeezy bit on the end first, put that under the water and then slowly release it and suck those little guys up. Now that's going to be enough in there for what I want. I mean, I've got another little pot here, which I'll squeeze them into. And you can have a look at those then. I'll try and get a nice close-up picture of them for you. Look at those little guys swimming around. Now they are packed with protein, these little chaps, and they are super healthy for your fry. So if you're going to start getting into breeding fish, you're going to have to start getting into breeding these, because it's a massive part of bringing up baby fish, and they go nuts for them. It's like McDonald's for fish. Right, so I'm going to rinse these out now, okay, through my little sieve, and then I'll put them back into the pipette, into the turkey basin, sorry, and we'll add them to the tetra tank and you can see them, and I'll reset you up and you can watch them have a little feed, okay? See you in a minute. Right guys, we're all set up on the tank now. You can see the little tetras there, you can see some of their colours coming through. It's quite amazing, the reds don't come, the blue comes through first, they get the lovely little blue eyelids and that little blue flash right down their middle before the red starts coming in a bit later on. Some of them are more advanced than others, like you get in most things. You get some that breed quicker. You can see the little gang down there in the corner there glowing really nicely. So I've got these little Artemia now, and I've rinsed them out with some water and I've put them back in here, so that's nice clean fresh water in there. And now I'm just going to pour them in here. And in they go. And you'll see those little tetras now come to life. There's a few egg cases in there still, but these guys are now going to buzz around and they're going to slowly start picking them off. You'll see them little jumps, they'll dart forward, and when they dart forward, it's when they're grabbing them, they're eating them. But these little Artemia now are going to go in amongst the peat, and as you can see, they're starting to wake up, starting to jump around, and they'll be hunting them out now for the next sort of 3 to 4 hours. So I've said before guys, you've got to be really careful feeding neons, because they will literally eat themselves to death. They'll eat so much that they can rupture their stomachs. So you've got to be careful feeding them. Don't think the more you feed, the more they're going to grow, because it doesn't work like that. As long as they've got sufficient nutrition going into their bodies, they're going to put on some nice steady growth. And there's more in there than I thought. I only thought I'd have got 20 out there. There's at least 30, maybe 40 now, because I've had the lights off out the tank. I haven't had a light, I've just had the bench tank, the shed lights on in here, workshop lights shining down. And so it's been quite a minimal light with the water lettuce on the top as well. It's kept it quite dark, because where they're from, the Amazon basin, places like that, Orinoco River, it's very dark and tanned water, so they're quite used to low light conditions. But I've got loads in there now. I'm quite surprised. Really happy with the amount we've got out, considering we only had a pair in there and they had a couple of spawns. So it just shows you how many eggs they can lay. And they weren't really like big adult neons, they were sort of sub-adults, so they were big enough and old enough to breed. But we've got quite a few, I reckon 30, maybe 40 in there. I'll try and get you some close-up footage now guys of some of these little fry eating. Ah, there you go, there's a bit better shot for you. There you go, you can see that red just starting to come in. You can see their little orange bellies, and that's a good indicator of whether your fish are eaten or not, because if you're putting in brine shrimp, they're orange. So if you look at their bellies and they're orange, you know they're feeding on them and they're big enough to take them. So you can see the little Artemia there hopping around on the there, he's got one. You can see him hopping around all over the place in there, and these little guys are going to be actively foraging away and hunting them for a good I'd say 3 or 4 hours. I'll do the same. I normally feed twice a day, but you can see they're starting to resemble the parents now. Bang, he got him, nice shot. And that's what they do, these neons. They're not really active fish when they're young. They tend to stay quite close to the quite close to the bottom in the substrate, in amongst the peat, obviously for protection and to avoid being predated upon in the wild. So, but they actively hunt these guys out, and there's quite a few. You can see how fat they're getting already. But a few of you guys have asked me for a little update on these, and as you can see, that we've got quite a few out. Some little mosquito larvae in there as well, some little midge larvae. Because I'm in the workshop, it's open to the pond, so it's pretty handy for me, because insects are coming in all the time and laying eggs in the water, which these guys are then feeding on later on, which is handy for me because they're getting all different types of, like, midge larvae and mosquito larvae, daphnia, all that sort of stuff, which is brilliant. So they've really spread out now along the bottom there, as you can see. I'll try and get as close as I can for you. That's not a bad little picture there. But you can see they're starting to resemble their parents now, which is nice. Let's see if there's any nice and close up the front of the tank. A little bit of cyanobacteria there growing on there, but that's not to worry, I'll fish that out. Some of you guys get that in your tanks. A really good way to get rid of that is hydrogen peroxide. Use 6% hydrogen peroxide in a syringe. If you've got it on your sand, just squirt a little bit. It's not going to harm your fish at all, and it'll kill that cyanobacteria off. And you marine guys, it works the same for you as well, but you'll have to, the cyanobacteria is going to be more of a purpley red colour in a marine tank. Yeah, it's really nice. Really happy the way these little guys are coming on. The zebras are doing really well too. We'll show you them in a minute. Active little guys. Nice to see. Right, there we go. I've just set you up now on the zebra danio tank. Now you can see there's quite a few more in there. We've got a very lovely little hatch rate in there. You can see the little albino longfin bristlenose pleco babies in there as well. I've put them all in there now. They're on their cucumber, having a nice little feed on that, rooting around in amongst that gravel. So by putting those in with them, whatever the danios miss that goes on the gravel and goes in amongst it, these little plecos are going to find their little way in amongst it and clean up the tank as well and keep that algae down. So it's a nice little, it's a good little way of bringing up fry when you can bring them up together like that. That's better. Square that picture off a bit. Right, I've just put some brine shrimp in here again, and now we'll do the same, and I'll feed these little guys. And these are voracious little predators. These really do go for it. So you'll see them all go nuts now for all this larvae. Just wash that little bowl out there, and there they go. They're off. It's a free-for-all. And they absolutely love these things, and because they're alive as well, they're going to stay alive for a good period of time, so they're not going to pollute the tank up. As you can see now, they're congregating around, picking them off. And these little plex will eat the ones that die as well, so if they die and they're lying on the substrate, they're going to pick those up, which is going to be some good protein for them as well. So we've got a good little hatch rate here on the zebras, as we did on the longfin bristlenoses as well. They're beautiful little things. You can see that their fins are elongating already, even at this young age, which is nice to see. These are one of the best fish, guys, if you're going to start breeding. These, the mountain minnows that we bred on the last one, and you saw them all spawning. Now the tank's next door now. I've removed all the parents from that, and I'm just letting that sit nice and quiet now with the filter going slowly, and hopefully tomorrow we should get some fry popping out from in amongst the substrate. So I'll give you an update on those as soon as they come out, probably on Wednesday. I'll give you another update on those guys as well. But as you can see, you've got a nice little bit of colour now coming through on these little snails whizzing around. Got a bit of algae growing on the glass, which I tend to leave on there for the young plecos to have a graze on. You don't want to be too clean in a breeding tank, because you're getting rid of all the food that way. Just remember, it's your main tank, it's what you want to look nice. Keep that nice and pristine and scraped clean and polished up. But these little tanks, clean the front panel if you like, but leave the sides grow nice and green. Anywhere it filled on the heaters, pumps, leave it all, and it's good food for your fry then. Snails are nice and busy. But as you can see, their little bellies are turning orange already. And I can't see many little Artemia left in there. They've gone through them extremely quickly. But like I said, you don't need to overfeed. They've had a good feed now, and I'll do this evening. And because they're more active now, they're going to be building up muscle and putting on some weight. And it won't be long before I'm going to have to thin these guys out, because there's so many in this tank. The filter's obviously only going to be able to cope with so many. So what I'll do is I'll move some of these around, and I'll probably put quite a few of them in with the better fry in the shrimp room, so they can grow up in there, and they're great little tank cleaners, and I'll bring some of them up in there. I'll give you an update on the better fry too soon. They're all doing very well, starting to colour up nice now. Nice little metallic sheen in them, but I'll leave that for another video for you. Nice and healthy, that's how we like. There you go, there's my little mate Jack. I just thought I'd show you him. How are you doing this morning, mate? He loves it in his little tank, he does. He loves it. He wants some food now as well. There's actually, if you're looking amongst it, I'm not sure if I can find it, but there's two babies. When I scooped the babies out originally, there's two little ones still in here with him, and he leaves them alone, and he's quite happy with them in there. He tolerates them in there, and they all help each other out and feed away with the shrimps as well. The shrimps are breeding, they tend to hide around the back. He's got his eye on me. Anyway, let's go and have a look at these tetras for the last time. Anyway guys, there you go. There's your little update on the zebra danios, the tetras, and good old Jack over there. As you can see, there's an amazing background on this tank. No expense spared on Marks Aquatics, you know that. Bit of wood and a towel, but it all does its job. It all does its job. But anyway, I think what I'll do now is I'm going to sign off. And as always guys, look after yourselves. Thanks for tuning in, you're all stars. Love you loads. See you on the next edition of Marks Aquatics. Take care, bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.